Hello and welcome back to my channel. In this video, we'll see what is generative AI, what is AI, and then what is the difference between generative AI and then the AI and the ML. So let's get started. So what is AI? Generative AI? So generative artificial intelligence is an AI which is capable of generating text, images, or any other media using generative models. So generative AI models learn the patterns and structure of their input training data and then generate new data that has similar characteristics. So for example, if you give a prompt to a Gen AI, it will give you a response with the new content. Now, what is AI? So artificial intelligence is the ability of machines to perform tasks that are typically done by human. For example, learning and problem solving. AI applications include advanced web search engines, for example, Google Search, and recommendation systems like YouTube, Amazon, and Netflix, and understanding human speech, for example, our Siri and Alexa. Also, self driving cars, generative or creative tools like ChatGPT and AI art. Now, to understand artificial intelligence in a more simpler way, let's assume AI as a dog. Firstly, the learning ability. Just like a dog, AI can learn various tricks and commands. It can learn and adapt. AI systems are designed to learn from data and improve their performance over time. Next, training of data to AI. When you train a dog, you expose it to specific behaviors or tasks repeatedly until it learns how to perform them correctly. Similarly, AI is trained using data to learn how to perform tasks or make decisions. Next, commands and responses. Dogs responds to verbal and visual cues. For example, when you say sit, a trained dog sits down. In similar way, AI can also be trained with commands. If you, for example, it responds to commands or inputs, you can give it instructions and it will perform tasks based on its programming. Just like how you say dog to sit, you train your AI model with programs. Adaptation. Dogs can adapt to different environments and situations. Similarly, AI can adapt to different tasks and data inputs. For instance, AI trying to recognize images of dogs. So you give an image, you train AI with all dog images, different types of images, and then you give a dog image, it will identify that and then it will tell you that it's a dog. Errors and corrections. So every time a dog make a mistake, you punish it. So dogs may make mistakes while learning and you correct them. AI can also correct by itself by using training or while performing tasks, and developers can fine tune it to reduce these errors. Next, diversity. Just like how we have different breeds of dogs, for example, German Shepherd, Doberman, and etc., we have various types of AI designed for specific tasks, such as NLP, natural language processing, computer vision, or any other recommendation systems. Next, specialization. Some dogs are trained for specific roles, for example, hunting and guarding. So they are trained for only for that purpose. Just like that, AI can also be specialized for specific tasks or industries, such as healthcare diagnostics or autonomous driving, etc. Next, limitations. Based on the training and then the breed of the dog, we'll have some limitations. Similarly, AI also have some limitations based on its programming and the data it was trained on. It may not perform well if the data is out of its scope. Next, companionship. So dogs provides a good companionship and assistance to humans. Just like that, AI in some applications can act as a virtual assistant. It can provide you information, it can provide you recommendations, and then now if you see ChatGPT, it will answer your very tough questions. Even human might take some time to think. Now, what is machine learning? So machine learning is a collection of techniques that allow systems to learn from data. In simple words, you make the machine learn by itself with by writing some algorithms, and then you train that algorithm with some already existing historical data, and then you give a different input, and then you expect the machine learning model to do a task for you. For example, you have a algorithm, or your own model. You give a certain input to that model. For example, take house prices as an example. You'll train your algorithm with all historical data of house prices, and then you give a location to that model, and then it will, based on the past house prices data, it will predict you the current price of the house. That can be one of the best example of machine learning. Now let's see types of machine learning techniques. First one, supervised machine learning. So under supervised machine learning, it'll expect insights, patterns, and relationships from a labeled training data. For example, if you see the houses here, so this house costs 2.4 millions, and then little big house costs 3 million, and then a house with a garage costs 4 million. And then now, so this will be the historical data. So for each house there will be a label, so it will get trained with labels. And then give a new when you ask a new question, it will check based on these labels, and then it will make predictions for you. Like if you ask for this, it will tell you that it might cost you 3.5 millions. So in simple words, it will be like it depends on patterns, insights, and their relationships with label trainings. Next one, unsupervised machine learning. Here we don't have any patterns. We'll have a set of raw data. We'll give the entire raw data to the model, and then we expect the patterns from that underlying structure. For example, you give a you give a complete set of raw data, and then the learning will decide, and then it will divide the groups. So that's what unsupervised machine learning means. Now, what is reinforcement learning? In this learning, the algorithm model learns by reacting to external inputs. This model will be trained using a system of rewards and punishments. For example, finding the best possible behavior or path that should be taken in a specific situation. The last one, deep learning. So in deep learning, it is a class of algorithms that uses many layers to learn a task. For example, if you see in machine learning, if you give car as an input, it will extract the features. For example, it have four wheels, and then it have an engine, something like that. It extract the features, and then based on the features, it will classify, and then finally it will tell if it is a car or not. In deep learning, it uses many of the learning techniques. It can be supervised, unsupervised, or it can be a combination. Or it can be any another scheme, and then it will decide if it is car or not a car. Now coming back to generative AI, generative AI is a subset of deep learning. And then you might have also heard LLMs. So it is large language models. These are also subset of deep learning. So there are basically two types of deep learning models. First one is descriptive, and second one is generative technique. So this is what generative AI is. So in descriptive technique, you give a dog image, it will classify, and it will tell that it is a dog or a cat. But in generative AI, you give a dog image, and then you'll ask model to generate a new image with that existing dog. Then it will create a different type of image with that existing image that you provided to the model. So that's what a generative AI means. You give an image, and then it will creates a new content. So this is an example of generative AI where I given a prompt of a golden retriever in a suit sitting at a podium giving a speech to the White House press corps, and then this is what generative AI generated. So this is one of the best example of generative AI. What is the difference between machine learning and generative AI? In predictive ML model, you give the data and you give the labels. It will find the relationship between the data and the label, and then it will give you the output, and then output will be a label. And in generative AI, the difference will be like you give some unstructured content. You give any unstructured content as an input to the generative AI model. It will by itself understand the content, and then it will create pattern by itself, and then it will output you with a new content. So that's what the main difference between machine learning and generative AI. That's all for today. If you have any feedbacks, ping in the comment section, and then see you in next video.